Some breaking news this morning then coming out of Southampton Football Club, and it has been announced that our chairman Ralph Krueger has left his position with immediate effect. And before we get into our reaction, this video is sponsored by OneFootball. The excellent free OneFootball app will keep you up to date and notified when there is breaking news such as this, and all the stats and scores all in one place. To download the OneFootball app, check it out by clicking the link in the description below. Anyway, Nick is alongside me to dissect the news. I mean, Nick, on the face of things, you know, some fans were clamouring for his departure. It seems like they've got their way, but it is somewhat of a bit of odd timing, really, just a day before an important game, and it seemed like things were finally going in the right direction after what has been maybe 2-3 years of mediocrity.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is the strangest thing about it. Why would you do it on a Friday before a big game at that? What was there that couldn't be left till Sunday, for argument's sake? That's a big decision. With the Chinese, there's a lot of... they're big on what they call face. The Chinese can't be seen to be losing face. So the reason for the departure could be one of two things. But one thing they don't do, they wouldn't want, is that Ralph Krueger to turn around and say, oh, I'm not renewing my contract and I'm leaving. So they've got to be seen to, this is, from a Gao point of view, it's got to be seen as being led by him. And it tends to suggest, from the fact that Ralph Krueger has made a reasonable comment, so is Catherine Lieber, so is Gao, that this is a sort of a mutual decision along the way. There's rumours that Krueger was going to go back into ice hockey, and I just think that something's cropped up, that they've been talking, and that there's something's changed this week, and Ralph Krueger needs to go now for whatever he's going to do next. They've agreed this and they've come up with his statement. The only strange thing is, why do it on a Friday morning just before a big game like Wolves? Why not wait? Why not just wait till Sunday?
Personally, I would have waited until the end of the season, you know, get everything out of the way, make sure that our safety is confirmed, and then, you know, go for the whole restructure over the summer. I mean, we've heard a little bit about that, you know, since Gao's been in charge. There's going to be a restructure. We've obviously seen Les Reed and Martin Hunter lose their positions as well. But what is the restructure? We still don't know it.
No, now the restructuring's been going, but this is my whole point, why it's just strange. I think this is the plan all along, has been that the change will be made at this end of the season. But something has changed in the last couple of days. So, if I had to take a guess type thing, I would, because chief executives always go, when the thing that a lot of fans can't seem to grasp is that Ralph Krueger isn't a footballing man. He doesn't get involved with the footballing side of things. He's a chief executive. And when the chief executive of, say, McDonald's resigns because he's going to Burger King, he doesn't stay in place with McDonald's and get to affect the business. Chief executive / chairman go straight away. They may go on gardening leave, but the moment they're not, going to go forward with the company, they stop and go. That's just the way of the world. Something's changed in the last couple of days. And as I say, I don't know what it is. They haven't said what it is. But I guess a job has probably come up where Krueger can go to that job now or in the near future, rather than wait to the end of the season. So I think this is just a mutual agreement on both parties where they do it. The only strange thing is, if that was the case, it still could have waited till Sunday, but it's clearly something that couldn't wait till the end of the season. I don't think that there's anything suspicious in that at all. I just think something's changed. Krueger's going, he's agreed to grow, his contract's not being renewed. I wouldn't have thought that would have been such as something that they told him this morning. They've had Gao, when everyone's been going on social media about how Gao's never seen at games, disinterested, not bothered about the club. They couldn't be further from the truth. Ill-informed comments. Gao has had his own men in and around the club now for a year. And certainly in the last 6 months this season, things have stepped up. He's had observers looking at all areas of the club and where the change. They've worked with Krueger going forward. They've been looking at restructuring it. It's just the timing. And as I say, I think if part of that restructuring, Ralph Krueger was going. So it's just why it's happened now.
And it has to be said that Ralph Krueger hasn't always been in attendance himself at the games, as he's been off sort of, elsewhere more times he has been in the stadium watching the games, or even at away games, perhaps never seen at away games. But we do believe it is Martin Semmers that will take control of the current day-to-day running of the business until at least the end of the season. It's believed that he may take over on a permanent basis. But I mean, the bottom line is, we've hardly heard a word or a peep from Gao, and this is the first statement we've actually heard from him to the press. And I'll read it out in full. Here it goes. Ralph has represented our club with honour and integrity and followed the Southampton way with great passion. We thank him for the foundations he has helped to build and wish him well for the future. That's all he said in the short statement on the official club website. Is that enough?
Well, this is where the words ill-informed come in. Now, what we've got is a football club where historically, over the past 20 years or so, we've had a chairman who is also the chief executive. But the two roles are distinctly separate. Look at every other football club. The chairman and chief executive are two different things, but because we had Rupert Lowe, who was chairman and also chief executive, and then we had Nicola Cortese, who was chairman and chief executive, it gets blurred. Now, the role of a chairman in a corporate business is not a full-time role, it's part-time. Now, what the chairman's job to do is he's the link between the owner or shareholders, call them what you want, and he's there to make sure the club is being run in the manner which the owner wants the club, or owners want the club to be run, or the business to be run, because this is corporate, not football. The CEO or chief executive is the man that's there day to day. The first mistake people make is that Krueger's should be there day in, day out. He shouldn't. It's a part-time role. Now, so Ralph Krueger has performed the job to the utmost of his ability. Not to the utmost of his ability, which I'm sure he has done, but he's performed the job to the job specifications, and that every other chairman has done. No one can name the chairman of most football clubs. A couple of smaller clubs like Burnley may have chairman that make statements, or because they're the owners as well. But in the main, there is corporate governance in place. So the fact that Ralph Krueger is not there day in, day out is nothing to be concerned of, or nothing strange. Now, given that he was Cafe Lieber's man, it's only natural that perhaps that Gao would want his own man, because he's the link. He's the man to make sure that things are being done. He's not the man to do them. He's the man to make sure that they're being done every day. So nothing strange in that, but perhaps Gao wants someone who is a little bit more hands-on than Ralph Krueger has been.
Yeah, I mean, that is the bottom line, I suppose, in a lot of the articles, or just scanning through. And, it could be said that fans have been quick to blame Ralph Krueger for all the shortcomings. No matter, I mean, he even took blame the results on the pitch over the last couple of years. But, we were often sort of alienated by his corporate, his American sort of catchphrases and conferences in the forums. But the bottom line is, though, question to you, Nick, what next? And I suppose I think all we have to do now is concentrate, get the results, and secure our safety on the pitch.
Well, I think it's a minority, alienated by his Americanisms. I mean, we were alienated by Rupert Lowe's public schoolisms. We've got some people who are alienated by everything. I mean, at the end of the day, Ralph Krueger was probably the most qualified man in the Premier League to be chairman of a football club, because he'd run big sports. To use an Americanism and perhaps alienate someone, he'd run big sports franchises. So he was a man who could come in and knew what needed to be delivered to bring up people and bring the club into the 21st century, bring in big corporate sponsors like Under Armour, Virgin Media. He knew what was needed, so he was qualified. But he annoyed some people because he came up with Americanisms. Oh, he's an ice hockey coach. So what? Most of the chairmen in the Premier League have never stepped on a sports field in their life. What they know about is business. And that's what he was there for, to run a business. So what next? Now, you would hope there'll be a lot of people out there go, we want someone like Nicola Cortese who will stand up and say, we can get to the Champions League. That's our game. We want to be in the Champions League every year. That's not ambition. For some people, the last 5 years have been a string of selling players. Every season, there's been meltdown. Every season, there's been complaints. Ralph Krueger's an ice hockey coach. He took us. And even now, people saying where we are now. Where are we as a football club? Right. If we take a look back at Ralph Krueger's tenure as chairman of this football club has never in its history finished in the top 8 of the top flight 4 seasons running. Now, that should tell you something about what Ralph Krueger's achievements have been whilst at Southampton Football Club. It's fine to speak about ice hockey coaches, Americanisms or anything, but Ralph Krueger came in at a difficult time when our previous chairman had gone, our manager had gone, our players were going. That was nothing to do with Krueger. That was to do with Liverpool and Manchester United offering these players stupid money. He took over at a difficult time and we delivered top 8, top 10 finishes. And the most consistent period of that in our history. Even Laurie McMenemy didn't get 4 top 8 finishes in a row. We got a cup final. We got 2 European campaigns. So we had effectively 4 seasons of success. And then we've had 1 season, last season, of struggle. And this season, we started off with a season of struggle. But since December, we've pulled clear and there's hope. So Ralph Krueger leaves with the club in a good position, both financially and instability. Changes had to be made. We'd become complacent. And part of the changes that need to be made are probably Ralph Krueger going. It needs to freshen up a little bit. So this is probably the thinking behind Gao doing it. Krueger's done a good job and his record stands up with anyone in the history of this football club. And that's probably where people lost the grip of reality. I've read comments on social media where people go, good riddance. Why would you say good riddance to a chairman that has overseen the last 5 years we've had? Now, if we look at the Premier League has changed massively in the last 5 years since Krueger's been there. The money has got big for the bigger clubs and has got smaller for the smaller clubs. And it's all about your ability to generate money. The difference between finishing 10th in the Premier League and finishing top is 20 million quid. Everyone gets 100 million or whatever it is. The difference to Manchester City's Premier League share money is 20, the difference is minimal, 20 million and a bit more TV money. The reason why we can't get into the Champions League now, and look, we couldn't 5-6 years ago, and look at how many clubs have managed it, not in that big 6 over the last 25 years, not many. But the reason we couldn't is because the likes of Manchester United and Tottenham have developed the corporate side of things. And that's where Krueger came in the fact that he's brought in big sponsorships and he's took us up to a different level. But sustaining 7th, 8th or top 10 finish is not easy. If it's all about just having money and doing that, why haven't Newcastle, why haven't Everton, why haven't Aston Villa, why have they not just been 9th, 10th every year? It's about building foundations and keeping it going. And Ralph Krueger has done that. But it is probably time to move on another level. But it's not about good riddance. It's about thank you for the job he's done. And as I always say, it's not about what's just happened. It's about what you do next. And what we need now is a chairman that can take us on further up the path on the foundations that have been built under Catherine Lieber, under Ralph Krueger, and continue to be, because at the end of the day, the other Ralph Hasenhüttl, has got the potential to be the best manager at this club since our friend Laurie McMenemy. So whose watch has he come on in on? So the shoots of recovery are there. It's about continuing it on. And what we want is someone who's going to bring about evolution, not revolution.
All right. Well, there you go then, Nick. Thank you very much for your time. If you're watching along, if you made it this far, let us know your reaction to the news this morning. Nick, we'll catch up tomorrow on Saturday.
Okay. Right, we have.